Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Murray. I am a Maximus worker. It's a call center in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We basically take calls on a day to day basis, trying to help our citizens with affordable health care. Now, the site has been open since 2013. A lot of my coworkers started when the doors first opened. And when the doors first opened, they were only making $9.05. And they were, struggling to take care of their families. And this is, one of the main reasons why we did go out on that strike today, because my coworkers and I were demanding higher wages. So now, in 2019, we got the $15 raise, and then the cost of living and everything is steadily rising, but we're still at that $15. So my coworkers, they were fed up with the pay, the way that they do the management, the supervisors, they micromanage them. They nitpick, certain supervisors has their favorites and things like that. And there's the attendance policy. You don't have only, I think they give you 64 hours. Yes, they give you 64 hours throughout the year to miss. That's unapproved time. And a lot of people have children, they have doctor's appointments, they have life that happens, and, you have to miss time due to, life happening. And they just felt like they didn't have that job security, if they did have to call off of work or, stay home because their child was sick. So those are, two main reasons why, my coworkers were striking. I just started July 18th, and while I was in training, the first strike was going on. It happened in August. I'm not sure the date, but the first strike happened, and I went outside, to see what was going on. And all of my coworkers, they let us know, what was going on. Because when I first started, of course, I didn't know, that they were only getting $9.05 when they first started. So as I was, talking to my coworkers outside, they were expressing their concerns and, how management treats them. And we can't do certain things, but the supervisors can. So it's, it's just like we're not being treated fairly, with respect and dignity. And those are the issues, that led us to the strike today. And when we first let management know that we were going to strike, it was October 26th. We delivered the message to management. Management rejected the letter. So that's why we went out on today, November 1st, which is the first day of open enrollment for Marketplace. And earlier today, I was talking with someone from the CWA. This was the largest strike of non-union workers since 2019. The biggest turnout in almost 2 years across the country, and the biggest in Mississippi that could be found on record. And we're only asking for $25 an hour, which is what other call center workers at the IRS and the Social Security Administration office, they receive that pay for the similar work that we do as well. And those workers start at $55,000 a year. That's their starting pay. Our CEO of Maximus, Bruce Caswell, he made almost $8 million last year, which is 208 times more than an average Maximus worker. So when we found out all of that information, that's when we started demanding $25 an hour. Also, time to breathe between calls, preferably 30 minutes per shift, and a better abusive call policy. Now, when I say time to breathe between calls, for example, we may have an emotional caller. The caller may be angry. The caller may be verbally abusive. And, we have to deal with these types of calls. And, we can't just automatically hang up. We have to follow protocol and warn them 3 times about their behavior while still being verbally abused. And then once that call is over with, it's ding, the next call. We don't have time to, collect our thoughts and, take a sip of water or, even breathe. So that's another issue why we're, demanding for the 30 minutes per shift. If we had, that time off, we could get ourselves together, we can go outside and get some air, if need be. We do 3 weeks of training. And then after we get out of training, there's 6 days of additional training. And then from there, they put us on the floor, on the secure floor to take live calls. Now, I was on the floor all of maybe 2 weeks when I received a call. I'm thinking it's just going to be a normal call. I answer it as normal with my approved greeting. And the caller was thanking me, for taking the call, and of course it's my pleasure. And then it's like heavy breathing. And then I'm like, okay. And, I didn't think anything of it, because we have, elderly people calling in, they may be short of breath or, anything. So I never thought anything of it. Now he's, going on and now he's talking and now he's saying something about stockings. And I'm like, excuse me, sir. So it sounded like, he was pleasing himself on the phone to the sound of my voice. And so when I'm asking him, I'm like, sir, what are you doing? I'm like, do you have a Medicare question? Like, what is this call pertaining to? And, he never gave me an answer. He never gave me a Medicare number. Nothing popped up in the system like a name or anything. And at the time I was freshly new, from training. I didn't know, to record the number, where to record the number at. So when it happened, of course, after he said what he said and he hung up, another call came directly behind that. So, I just tried to brush it off. It was towards the end of my shift. And, I just walked out, talked with my coworkers about it. Like, I had this call and, it just didn't sit right with me. And another coworker said she had a similar call, where the guy was being sexual, towards her as well. So, she never reported it. And of course, I never said nothing that day. But the next day, lo and behold, I get the same exact caller. And I just could not believe it. As soon as I picked up the line, I immediately recognized his voice. Like it's pierced in my brain. So when I heard his voice, I was just like, you have to be kidding me. I said, sir, I cannot believe that, you called my phone again the second time. And so when he noticed, that he got the same caller, he laughed and, said whatever and hung the phone up. So at that point, I was furious because I'm thinking, this is a call center. It's a 1-800 phone number. We have 11 sites scattered out the 50 United States. So how is it possible for me to get the same call, the same exact caller 2 days in a row? So I reached out to my supervisor. I let her know, like, this guy called me yesterday and he called me today. Something needs to be done. And she's like, oh, well, there's nothing that can be done. I'm like, there's nothing that can be done. These calls are recorded. I felt like she could have at least pulled the call to see, just to verify, that I was, verbally abused, and that, the situation did happen, the way I said it. Like she never, tried to say, oh, Tiffany, do you need any time off the phone? How did that make you feel? She's just like, oh, you have to submit feedback in NGD. Now, mind you, I'm new to the floor, 1 week in. So I'm like, submit feedback where? Like we can't have a pen, a pencil, a marker, any sort of paper at our desk. So I'm like, submit it where? What am I supposed to do? How can I write notes if there's no call open? You have to have a call record open to be able to place notes. So I just felt like, man, like the other girl, she didn't say anything. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything either, because it's like nothing was resolved, and I still want to know, like, how was that possible? Like, how was I able to get the same caller 2 days in a row if this is a national 1-800 number? So we just get certain calls, or certain area codes are directed to certain locations. I'm not sure, but that, was a time where I would have needed, time off of the phone to collect my thoughts and get myself together. And, that's one of the reasons why I was out on strike today, because I felt like my voice wasn't heard, and we all have voices, and they should be heard. And that's why today, November 1st, 2022, we had over 650 people on our strike notice across 4 sites: Bogalusa, Louisiana; London, Kentucky; Hattiesburg, Mississippi; Chester, Virginia. And, so today is that open enrollment for Marketplace, the first day of open enrollment. So we wanted to let them know that you guys cannot operate without us. We have a voice, and, it has to be heard. It makes no sense that we have to, fight for rights that are, they're ours. They're our rights. We shouldn't have to.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Working People, a podcast about the lives, jobs, dreams, and struggles of the working class today. Brought to you in partnership with In These Times magazine and the Real News Network, produced by Jules Taylor, and made possible by the support of listeners like you. So as y'all heard, we've got a really important mini cast for y'all today. I'm so grateful to be able to chat with Tiffany at 10:30 at night on the day of the strike that she just mentioned. And we wanted to, help get the word out as best we could. And so I'm so grateful to you, Tiffany, for making time to chat with me with everything going on. And, you kind of did like all the necessary introductory work for me. And like, my God, I don't even know what to say after hearing, the story that you just told. Like, even just that one experience you had with that one total creep, who called twice, and then, management just totally, sloughing it off and not, responding to your needs, not having like time between calls to collect yourself after going through that experience. That's, I want to ask a little more about kind of that day-to-day work that you and your coworkers do and the kinds of things that you have to put up with. And I thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that can't be easy. And, really, as you said, speaks to why you and your coworkers, went on strike today, November 1st. We are recording this at 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 1st. And today was when Tiffany and many of her coworkers hit the picket line to, make their voices heard about, many of the things that you heard Tiffany talk about already. And I guess just for folks listening to this, you may have seen, posts going around on social media from Call Center Workers United, which is the account that has been spreading the word about this. And I just wanted to read from that, from a Twitter thread that Call Center Workers United put out in late October, announcing the strike that happened today on November 1st, just to make sure, like with this and with the introduction that Tiffany gave, that everyone listening is on the same page here. So here is what the Twitter thread announcing the November 1st strike said. Quote, "We are Affordable Care Act, Medicare, and Medicaid call center workers, and our employer, federal contractor Maximus, is pushing us past our limit. Here's a thread about why we are striking on November 1st. We've been saying for years during ACA open enrollment, we are dealing with constant back-to-back calls. Some frustrated callers become abusive and subject us to racist and sexist slurs. We are paid wages so low it's nearly impossible to support a family. We've had enough, and we are striking for 3 simple demands. 1, a $25 an hour starting wage. 2, time to breathe between calls. And 3, meaningful protection from abusive callers." End quote. Now, we are obviously going to link to Call Center Workers United in the show notes, so you guys should give them a follow and stay up to date on what's going on there. We are also going to link to the petition that Call Center Workers United has circulated, along with a strike fundraiser. So if you can, please share that around. Please give what you can. And we will, round out this mini cast in a few minutes, asking Tiffany if there are other things that folks listening to this can do to stand in solidarity with her and her coworkers. And, Tiffany, like I said, you really, I think, gave a, clear and harrowing sort of picture of what, is going on in this call center. And I guess I just wanted to ask if you could say a little more about, like, on top of that other crap that you're dealing with, right? The not having breaks between calls, not having management that's responding to you, having abusive, callers, and also not making, a livable wage. So those are, these ongoing issues. And then, like you said, like now we're in the open enrollment period. And I imagine that just, it's got to be so hectic over there. I was wondering if you could just sort of, for folks who have never worked in a call center and never seen the other side of the kind of work that you do, could you just kind of describe to us, like, what it looks like for you and your coworkers during this open enrollment period doing the work that you do?
Okay. So during open enrollment, it's for your extra benefits like your vision, your dental, prescription coverage, anything like that. So we have to have patience. We have to listen to the beneficiary. Sometimes, they may not speak loud enough, or, it's just, might be a communication issue, but we have to log in every last one of their prescriptions. Sometimes the caller will have over 20 prescriptions, and we have to enter those prescriptions in one by one. We put in the name, then we click a button, put in the dosage, click another button. We have to put in the frequency, and we have to do that for every single prescription. And then we have to help the caller find a pharmacy in that area, preferably a pharmacy that they, prefer. So then we go through the pharmacy list. And then once we do that, we have to go through plans. Now, if the caller narrows it down to one provider, then that may be easy. But sometimes we have to go through anywhere from 3 plans to 23 plans if the caller decides they want to go through every last plan. We have to do that, and we have to make sure that we are very attentive, to getting all of their needs, within that coverage plan. And this is a call that may run 30 minutes. It may run um, over an hour. It's just really no way to determine how long these calls will run. And then you have people that are new to Medicare. They get their first premium statement. They're upset of the amount, which we have no control over these amounts. The Social Security Administration, they determine, what people will pay for their Part B premiums. But of course, when they call us, we're the one that, are basically the culprits that made their premiums so high. So we have to deal, with that, and, the aggression of how can they do that and they're not paying that, and, or a late enrollment penalty if you don't enroll when you're supposed to. We have to deal with, with that. And then you may have a caller call in. They want to report the death of their husband or wife. So 1 minute they're okay, then the next minute they're crying, and then they're going back into old stories. So we have to, sit there and, kind of pretty much be like therapists, or, just an ear, to let people vent, and things like that. And we get these calls back to back to back to back to back. You may have a caller, that's very angry. You may have a sweet caller. You may have, a caller that's upset because a claim was denied, but all of these different emotions are put onto one person in an 8-hour shift. Some people work 10-hour shifts. So that one person gets all of this put on their back day after day after day after day.
Man, and it's just like I'm exhausted hearing that, right? And it's a different kind of exhaustion, right? Because, if we're talking about folks who work in, a warehouse for 8-10 hours, right? You're lifting boxes, you're stacking pallets, you're unloading trucks, right? There's a lot of physical exhaustion that comes with that. Like it feels like that's what you're doing, like emotionally, like going through so many calls on 8 to 10 hour shift, having so little time in between calls, kind of having, I imagine like you were describing earlier, it's like you've got, if like management, like looking over your shoulder, like if you're not kind of picking up the next call as soon as you hang up the last one, like, I don't know. That's got to be just like really, it's a lot of labor. It's got to take a whole hell of a lot of skill to be able to deal with people in so many different circumstances, all their particular questions. Obviously healthcare is very important. So it's a very high stakes situation. But so like on top of that, to be dealing with so many different emotions and types of reactions that you get from callers, like that's got to be a whole hell of a lot to deal with.
Yes, it is. And then on top of that, we have to do our own timesheets. We have to multitask while we're on the phone. We have to check emails. We have to check our Teams for messages. We have to check our WFO, that's our work schedule. And all of this while trying to assist the caller, read through scripts, find information in scripts. It's like, the mouse is just all over the place. And then we might have to reach out to internal support. So now we're calling them. We have the caller on hold. We're on three-way call. The ISG representative, they have control over, the screen. So it's a lot going on, and you still have to, log all of your information. You have to put all of your comments on there. You have to make sure you log all of the scripts to make sure, so management can see that you did your job properly. God forbid you don't log a script or, something like that. Or God forbid you go into a wrong aux code, that's when management will jump in. But it's like, okay, when I needed you guys on those explicit calls back to back, you didn't pull those calls. But you pulled another call where a guy gave me a 1 on my score. But you pulled that call and you saw that I did my job correctly. He was just upset with the information that I gave him. But those other calls were never pulled. So that's why, we were out there today. And it's like, we made history. This was the biggest turnout in almost 2 years across the country, and the biggest in Mississippi that they could find on record. So, they talk a lot about Mississippi. They've been dormant and silent for a while, but that day is over. They're sick of being silenced, and, they have voices and they deserve to be heard. I'm not from Mississippi. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. But since I've been here and been a part of the people, I will consider myself, that I do live here in Mississippi, and things that affect my neighbors affect me as well.
Well, and let's talk about what that looked like today, right? Because again, I know it's been a long day, and I don't want to keep you any later than I have to. So the strike, happened today on November 1st. Could you, I guess, just tell us a bit about how today went? I think you said it was 4 locations that were involved. What support you're getting from the community, what the response from management has been, and I guess what happens now.
We had a lot of community support. We did, and the turnout, it was amazing. It was better than the last turnout. The employees, they band together. There were more outside, than I thought would show up. And, it was just awesome. It was amazing to see everyone come together. And when we went into the building to deliver the strike message for the second time, it was able to be delivered. We left it on the desk, but as we were leaving out, the site manager approached us saying, if you guys are not actively working, you have to leave the site. But we were already on our way out of the building. So it's like we're trying to get our voices heard, but you guys are still not listening. So now we're outside, we're striking, and now all of a sudden, the police show up. Not 1 car, not 2 cars, not 3 cars. There was about 5 or 6 police cars that pulled up. And, we were well within our rights. We weren't breaking any rules, any laws. We were not disorderly, violent. We were not throwing slurs or threats or anything. So, for management to call the police on us, it was kind of like, really a slap in the face. Like they're just, showing us that they don't care about our voice, because at one point, the site manager told us we didn't need a third party. We didn't need the union. We didn't need anyone, to communicate for us or through us or anything like that. We can, do our own communicating. But when the shoe's on the other foot, you guys call the police. So, what if we were to have been locked up? What if they would have brought the paddy wagon? Is this what you want for, us to get locked up instead of just listening to our demands? And so when the police came, they were nice. We have pictures with them. And when they left, they honked their horns, because we weren't doing anything wrong at all. So I'm glad that happened. I'm glad management knows that we're not going anywhere. We have a voice, and it's going to be heard one way or another. And, it was just, we didn't think that, we would be treated that way, to have the police called on us, a different time, it would have been very different. So, I'm just thankful that times have changed, and no one was out there like we didn't fear for our life. The police weren't aggressive or anything. They just had to come because they were called. But again, we were not unruly or anything. No one got arrested. Out of the 4 sites that went on strike, there were over 650 people, and we were all peaceful.
Well, and like, I love the way that you put that, right? Because it totally flips the boss's, like, union busting talking points on its head, right? And because this is something that I remember hearing from like Amazon workers and Starbucks workers, right? Because bosses love doing this, right? They love saying, oh, the union is a third party. It's going to get in between us. It's going to break the special relationship that we have with management, the same management that, didn't do anything when you were subjected to a sexual harassing creep 2 days in a row. So that relationship is clearly very, very special. And so they always say, yeah, we don't want the union, this quote unquote third party, getting between us. But whenever management wants to bring in like outside union busting consultants to hold captive audience meetings for their workers, whenever they want to call the police on workers who are striking, like, wouldn't we consider that a third party getting in between us? Like, it's they don't practice what they preach, and I think the way that you put that is so important. And thank God that like you said, like things went the way they did with the police, because that has definitely not always been the case in the past, and it still isn't. Like, geez, striking Teamsters were just getting their heads cracked by police like a week ago. So it really is luck of the draw, but it's so great to hear that you had that support from the community, that y'all were out there standing strong, and that you didn't have kind of these issues with the police. I think that is so great to hear. Now, I just wanted to ask, by way of rounding out, and then I promise I'll let you go. So are strikes going to continue? What can folks out there listening to this do now and in the long run to show support for you and your coworkers over there?
Oh, Max, we are just getting started. Okay. We are not letting up until our demands have been met. And that may take a month, it may take a year, it may take 2 years, but I am here for the long haul. And we are going to get those demands that we are asking for. And if anyone would like to sign on to our petition, you will get all of the information from the community supporter emails at actionnetwork.org. And you guys go on there and get that petition signed, and you will get all of the information of our community supporter emails. And, just keep track of what we have going on, because we do have a lot going on. And like I said, this is only the beginning.